Good evening. This is a very, 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 very preliminary work made with a colleague of mine, Patrizia Giannantoni. She is not here. I think she's here virtually because she's pregnant and it's almost time. And very and Barbara from ISTAT. So this is the real reason of our session. ISTAT and INVALSI, we put data together and work together. And we want to speak about the STEM degrees. This is the first time that we approach this argument. There is a STEM paradox. We didn't explore it for the moment. I just want to tell you what about this paradox. It seems that in countries with more gender equality, girls doesn't choose, doesn't choose STEM degree, also if they have high competencies, and this is the paradox. But we started now with this work, so we will study in the future. We made just a few descriptive and one logistic model. We didn't have much time, but the big thing of this work is the joint database. It's the first time that we have a database like this. We used data from Ministry of Education, all the information about the students' school career, the INVALSI data, all the information collected with INVALSI test, and university data, all the information about the university enrollment. And we make together, Patrizia, the other one, make together. She made almost all the work. And this is the first time that we combine the student school career with the university one. And it is very important. We have just the enrollment, but in the future, we will have the career of the student. So we can study also the next step. After the enrollment. We use this data, INVALSI data from grade 13 of 2019 here, and then Minister of Education of the same grade, and the university enrollment of not this year, but the last year, the 2020. The data that we put together are these, and we matched with the CD, that is the number that identify the student at the beginning of the school system in the grade 1. The student has this CD, this number, and then the fiscal code, and at the end we have the anonymous student code that is the same that we put on the microdata of INVALSI. So we have the diploma score, gender, type of high secondary school, the big one from Minister of Education. From INVALSI we have the origin, so student of native or not, the type of high secondary school, and we divide in scientific high school, other high school, technical institute, and vocational institute, geographical area of the school, and the level of competencies in Mathematica in the INVALSI test. And from the anagraphy of university, gender, enrollment here, department choose, class of degree, the discipline, STEM or not STEM. Oops. Okay, maybe it's better. Okay. This is the first descriptives that we made. How many girls choose scientific high schools? You can see in green male and in red female, and the distribution by gender is different in different types of high school is asymmetric. The first one are scientific high school, then the second, the two second bars are the other high school. If I put the present, okay. Because in the presentation disappear the graph. Of PowerPoint. This is Office 365. Sorry. You can the first group is high school, scientific high school, then other high school, then technical, and then vocational. The last one in green male and red female. So the distribution is asymmetric, and the girls choose the scientific high schools less than boys, a lot less. They choose more other kind of high school, like artistic, human science, classics, and linguistic. So the gender distribution is clearly unbalanced. Okay. How many girls choose STEM disciplines at university? Also here I can increase. Like this is better? Okay. At the university, we observe a gap, the 23% of girls, again, the 46% of boys choose a STEM degree. That is the first two bars. And the other one, the girls choose artistic, classic, and teaching. More than male. The same about economic, law and social, and then healthy, and so on. Okay. We also asked about the provenience from the previous school of the girls and the boys. Maybe does the high school choose and change the girl inclination to the STEM degree? So we analyzed data from the previous school. So scientific high schools, the difference is thinner, but still present. The 42.6% of girls coming from scientific high schools choose a STEM degree against the 54.6% of boys. Okay. Other lycée, other high school, and the difference became thinner. But there is almost 4% difference in favor of boys. From technical institute, the difference grew. Almost 19% of girls coming from technical institute choose STEM degree against the 51.3% of boys. And this is very high difference. And also from professional, 10% against 22.8%. We study also the differences from geographical area, but we didn't comment because the differences are not so high. So you can see northwest, northeast, the center, and the south, and the Southern Island. There are no differences. The difference, the gender gap is stable in Italy. And then we can analyze if the level of competencies in mathematics at the end of the high school change the girls' inclination to the STEM degree. So we choose 3 levels. Level 1, that is the low level in competencies of INVALSI test. Level 3, that is the border, the sufficient of competencies, and level 5 is high competencies. You can see the STEM in the first two bar, and then healthy and veterinary, and then economic, law and social, and then classics and teaching. These are the differences. So the gender gap in the enrollment to a STEM degree not influenced by the level competencies in mathematics. The propensity to choose a STEM degree grows as level of competencies in mathematics increase from 15% for low competencies to more than 60% for high competencies. And this is for both gender, male and female. The relative gaps remain unchanged. We try to use a logistic models. This is just the only one models that we made, and you can see here the odds ratio. The value -1 mean a reduction of the probability to choose a STEM faculty. The values more than 1 mean an increased propensity to choose a STEM faculty. So you can see male and female. The reference is a male. Female has half has likely to choose a STEM degree than boys. And also you can see the other high schools and also vocational. Technical institute are the same, almost the same, 0.88, almost 1. And you can see that the probability to choose a STEM growing the level of competencies in mathematics at the INVALSI test. It seems a little bit more probability of choose STEM in South and Island, but slightly. So we are still studying this data because we don't have an explication for everything. The competencies is evident, female the same, but the South and Southern Island we don't have just an explication, and also the not native students that choose. Maybe is because in mathematics, if they arrive to a degree, they are very clever students, so they choose a STEM degree, because otherwise they don't go to university, or maybe because they don't speak Italian, so maybe a STEM degree is more easy for them to study. We are just exploring this data, so this is a very preliminary work. And also so we have the conclusion that I already told you, and we future developments are also study the university progression based on annual credits earned by male and female, and also the degree, how much time they finish the study, and also the grades according to the degree group for male and female. So this is very short presentation for a preliminary work, and we expect some suggestion for you for the the follow-up of this job. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, if you see, you put teaching with artistic or literature, but what do you mean about teaching? I mean
classics.
Okay, no, not teaching. I mean that the girls want to go to teach.
No, this is a faculty. Scienze
della formazione.
Sì, non classics.
Okay.
These are the classification of the university enrollment. So we use that definition.
But what I'm wondering is that medicine is considered a scientific faculty. I think so.
No, but
And
not in STEM.
No,
no,
it's not a STEM. Okay,
Oh, okay.
but I mean, it's more a scientific faculty than.
Yes, but
no?
it's
But no,
like.
What is strange is that in the last years, more girls enroll in medicine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this means that it's not true that girls are not, they don't like scientific disciplines, you know, because medicine is a scientific discipline.
But with another finality.
Yes,
it's the
maybe
take care of someone.
Yeah, that's could be the question why. I mean, it's just,
there are any questions?
So thanks a lot. It's really impressive the amount of information that you have here. So one thing that I think could be interesting to explore as well is the mobility of boys and girls. So here it's super interesting that you can map who moves from where to where, because there is also a lot of evidence that girls move less, and that affects their choice set of where to study, what to study as well.
Oh yeah.
So I think you can do that. I mean, even without going with with the data on grades and credits and so on, even just seeing the transition from school to university, you have a lot.
Thank you.
Mobility, it's higher in the south, could be related to mobility reasons. Maybe if you choose scientific faculty, this goes with a choice to move, maybe. Could be a possibility, because it's much easier to, I think, to get a job. Yes, these are just questions. Okay.
Se proprio devi.
So thank you very much. Congratulations for very interesting work. Although the first idea or preliminary work, but it's very, very interesting. If you do my job, it's impossible to keep optimistic. And so I see in the data several aspects that we have to face, because the water is really muddy. But in what I mean. First of all, I think we have to start to face the description of the phenomenon is extremely relevant, important, but why? I think I have the feeling that we are avoiding to face the reasons why we are facing this kind of results. First of all, is not, and so I think the statistical work is extremely relevant in order to explain all the correlations, all the interactions, in order to have a clearer picture, but more or less, even later, before we have to find how can I say, we have to face what is going on, maybe is in the early childhood education, but in terms of the explanation, I don't think we can find good explanations only in this way, although it's extremely important. First of all, I really appreciate your how can I say, tendency to avoid the stereotype to use pink for ladies and blue for, but I was totally confused, to be entirely honest. In the
She told me the same.
So I just to say maybe some stereotype is a way to understand the reality in a easier way, but do what you want. But anyway, I was totally confused. And second, last but not least, in the graphs, if I could understand the graphs, independently from the gender, I see, according to the levels of the results, are very, how can I say, I would like to find a very polite adjective, not too rude, a very interesting phenomenon in terms of in the relation between levels of results and kind of faculties.
Yeah.
Maybe I go to look to a doctor, a medicine doctor to another country, first of all, because the relation between the level of results and medicine, the problem of the gender is the last one, in my opinion. First of all.
But it's only mathematics for
okay.
Italian.
Yes, or probably they can explain very good why they have no explanation for a problem. Okay, is a good point, and I think we have to work also in this direction, because I'm joking, but it's not so a joke, because also for teaching professions, I see a very impressive relation between the level of the students and how they decided to take a teaching faculty, especially for math. I would like to stay with math, because in primary school, they have to teach also math. Maybe could be an explanation of this gender gap of the results. Thank you very much. And really thank you for this very interesting work.
There are any questions?
No, I have a silly idea. I think that coding is a possible way to approach a more scientific mindset, because coding, programming, is something which links together scientific and humanistic, literary aspects. After all, coding is a way of writing something which must have a sense, even though it's not a classical literary sense. And well, maybe we should consider to try to put more coding in schools, in upper secondary schools, where female students tend to go, because now coding is not taught in maybe only in scientific liceo, which is a school where we don't have we have less female students, and maybe since it is something which is cross-sectional, it's cross-sectional skill, digital skill about coding. Maybe we should try to introduce it even in a language, licei linguistici or licei artistici, or maybe it could be a way to put this some sort of stimulus in this area. And because I have the impression that there is a split at this level, and the women tend to go to humanities. Well, we should try to think humanities incorporating some scientific skills, as maybe coding, programming, this kind of languages, which are not taught at school now, could be a way to try to do something. I told it as a silly idea. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think we close the session.
There are any questions online?
No?
No?
Okay.
Any? Another.
May I?
Well, you are the president, but
Okay, just the last one. I would suggest to take in consideration another aspect. If we take the reading comprehension, we see the opposite phenomenon. But if we look to the distribution of the results of the abilities, the differences is more or less the same among all the levels. In math, it's not so, if I could remember. We see the difference only or more in the highest level of the abilities. This is also an aspect that we have to take into consideration. And I know it is very in a room where the males are a small minority, it is quite dangerous to say that, but we should also take into consideration also this aspect. I don't know if I was clear, but maybe some from the looks of some colleagues, they have understand. So maybe there is something deep. I know that is not so popular as explanation, but a statistical help, let's say in that way, more polite, is to find or study connection and correlations and yes, interaction, sorry, among these aspects. I strongly suggest it.
okay, thank you. Maria Laura.
So thank you. No, it's a very important work. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions. The first actually is just a remark, because basically what you find out is that no matters what are the grades don't matter, test scores don't matter for the choice of a university degree, in the sense that even for a high level of mathematical skills, still girls don't choose the so-called STEM degrees. And this is a first important result of your paper, which I think should be stressed even more, because then in the end, what does it say? That it doesn't matter if there is a gender gap in mathematics in test scores. If we want to increase the number of girls in STEM subject, if this is a policy relevant goal, then the gender gap in mathematics, it doesn't matter so much. That's the first thing. And of course, which leaves us with what matters then. And what matters then, there are other studies that show also that, well, first of all, the choice that girls and boys do before, so from terza media to first year of high school, so which track they choose. But you have also shown that even if they choose the scientifico, they choose much less the scientifico respect to the classico or other licei, but still, even if they choose scientifico, they still go less to the STEM. Yeah. So that doesn't explain as well. So this story reminds me a bit what we study in economics on the gender wage gap, the gender pay gap. If you really look at the gender pay gap and you decompose the gender pay gap with an explained component by what you observe, and the rest, in Italy, we know that basically there is nothing that explains the gender pay gap. Meaning that whatever we observe, sector, etc., does not explain. And in this case, it's the same. What does explain this gap in STEM? It's not the level of math. It's not if they have chosen a scientific or classical. My personal reply to this, and perhaps to you also, is that there are some stereotypes and prejudice that start very early, I would say from year one, yes. So from kindergarten, that comes from parents and teachers in general, and these stereotypes build up the preferences that women and girls express for some subject. Why do women do more medicina? Because it's built in us that we take care of things. Yeah. Not is built because in our brain, it's built because of the society has taught us that we need to care, while it has taught men on the other side that you don't need to care. So it's these gender norms that are given to us since we are born shape our preferences. So it doesn't really matter in the end if we are good at math or not. In the end, we try to fulfill the expectation that the society has for us. Sorry, I've been a bit long and it's 6 o'clock, so I stop here because I could go on for hours.
It's more sociological than economical. It's more like it's your kind of the social type.
Well, we could go into this because, of course, this has huge impact on the labor market and the pay gap, because the so-called more feminine jobs are less paid than the male jobs. Not sure.
One short remark. In fact, it would be interesting to add the student questionnaire questions related to this kind of non-cognitive stuff like expectations and on gender roles, gender norms, and so on. That would couple with this and would be super interesting. Yeah, it was short.
Well, I had another parenthesis. The INVALSI data, is it possible to have the
yeah.
At the moment, we only have a chair or not?
This is a privacy problem. We have so we have, but we usually don't have if we are not sure that we have 3 schools in that province or region, or yes, for each geographical and I strongly agree with you, and I suggest to my president to put some question, this kind of question, but very slightly.
Should I remember the question D4?
No, it was D10,
D10.
not D4.
No, we are joking because we tried to add some question in, I think it was 5 or 6 years. We tried just to add a question. We went to national newspapers and TV programs at national, because we are trying to impose to the young children our economical ideas about
Of the future.
and so on and so on. So maybe we can, but I'm joking, not much.
We can, we can add to a sample, maybe a project.
We made a big mistake. We used the general
the census,
say, a census level, and that was a mistake. Maybe to collect this kind of data, we don't need the whole population.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do in a small sample. Is of course the problem, the risk is not 0, but it's smaller. So, and we could, and maybe because it is general question not related with the skills or the academical abilities, we can say in advance. Let's say in a small sample, we will collect data on blah, blah, blah.
With the finality of the project,
yes, exactly.
And we can follow the students. So if the sample, we can have a sample representative for the nation, or maybe for the 3 macro areas, and we can follow the students in the time. So we maybe can understand also these differences. There are any questions? Okay, so we can conclude this session.